Welcome to Phoenixes Rising from the Ashes into Purpose. I am Tennille, your transitional coach, here to guide you through your journey back to higher self, the being the Most High created you to be by revealing the mental weeds that have kept you repeating toxic patterns. Once removed, I give you the tools to heal those wounds and grow back in its place God's truth about you. The goal is to get you walking in your purpose and power. I have available now an introductory course titled, So You've Fallen, Who Said You Can't Get Up? For only $97. To get started, just click on the link in the description box to enroll. Also, check out the Cluster B playlist where I describe the tactics Cluster B disordered creatures use to break down their targets so that they're pliable. I love feedback, so never be afraid to leave a comment on this playlist or my Blue Phoenix Rising documentary series. Season 1 of BPR is detailing how I became homeless. Season 2 will be up sometime this year, 2021, so please have patience. Again, leave a comment and let me know if you can relate to these topics. Subscribe and share with someone who needs to hear they're not alone. Let's begin. The term gang stalking is becoming well known. I first learned about the term in 2011 after experiencing it in a city I was attending college in. Obama was about to be president, and I had neighbors in Olympia, Washington that weren't happy about the possibility of losing psychological control if Barack Obama became the most powerful man in America. That wasn't what started it, though. What started it was my asking on a college message board a Jewish question. From there, it was downhill. I had a cop who went out of his way to interrupt my daily walks. On one walk, he saw me walking and whipped his patrol car around and came to a screeching halt in front of me. He jumped out of the vehicle, crossed me to race up to a tree, barren, might I add, on the left side of me, and tugged on one of its branches while he looked me dead in my eyes. I kept walking, though, in shock. I think my body and mind split due to cognitive dissonance. Even though I reported him, he still kept on. It was crazy making. It didn't stop there. I had strange men, one friend told me, could have been the FBI, who would park at my apartment complex and stand near their vehicles. They always wore the same clothes. They were always staring at me through their sunglasses. On campus, there was plenty of gaslighting, slander, isolation, and retaliation. I am very much into working out and eating healthy. At the time, I was 155 pounds when I started my first quarter, cut and stocky. By the time I graduated, I was almost 200 pounds and looked like I was about 6 months pregnant. And I've never been pregnant. All of this was from stress. It wasn't until I moved to Sacramento, California, that I would experience the full brunt of this phenomena. For 10 years, I've dealt with systematic gang stalking. What I realized is gang stalking is a concentrated cluster B onslaught on the masses. You tell everyone for years, since 9/11, this practice doesn't exist, which is gaslighting, though it has been a shadow government or agency, let's just say, that's been training these people to destroy the minds and lives of whistleblowers, entertainers, athletes, politicians, and everyday people like ourselves who just desire to live. Our society has been made sanctuary for cluster B disordered personalities. When you hear the stories of people who recount their experience with gang stalking, it happens out of the blue. A once quiet neighborhood suddenly becomes polluted with noise. You leave your home, and when you come back, you notice a few subtle changes, or, in the case of one woman who was on the news, your gas stove turned on. This is grooming, is it not? Conditioning the target to believe they are crazy and need to shut up. People at your job start filing complaints. Everyone isolates you during breaks. They may walk past your cubicle and look at you with hate. You have no idea why. My offense in 2011 was not acknowledging the advances of a tutor at an apartment complex I was about to move into. My focus was getting in my Section 8 paperwork, moving from the old place of gang violence and child prostitution and the noise of the ever so grand train into the new one. Not who or what employee had the hots for me, but I wounded this cluster B by being focused on myself. There was nothing wrong with it, but when a cluster B has their illusions of grandeur shattered, they have to get back at you. Little did I know what type of abuse I was about to be subjected to. I would go on walks around the neighborhood and see kids. When we made eye contact, there was something sinister about their gaze, and it seemed they were familiar with me. When I would go on a walk the next day, I would see the same kids wearing the same thing. This time, they were trying to hide a sinister smile. I had a Russian teenager follow me and threaten me with his bike as soon as my feet landed off the apartment stairs. There was also a black boy about 5 or 6 years old giving me hateful glares from his little bike and awkwardly attempting to make the same threats days later. When I would go outside of the apartment complex, walk through the driveway out onto the city sidewalk, cars would suddenly decide that each and every one of them at this intersection wanted to do a U-turn. I lived on the 3rd floor. I would leave my patio door open with the screen. I had 2 cats, Egypt and Imhotep. Imhotep was missing. I later found him near the park. He wouldn't come back. I blew it off as maybe he jumped through the screen, but it wasn't open and there was never a hole proving this. I still had 1 cat, Egypt. She never went out to the patio. During this time, I was fighting back with the gang stalkers after finding my name slandered and smeared all over Craigslist rants and raves with my picture included, where they had insinuated at one time I was a pedophile, a favorite of cluster B's. It's called transposing. I was also ugly, fat, schizophrenic, bipolar, all the above. I had gone to the police and was told they couldn't do anything about the harassment because it was in public areas. So they did tell me to collect evidence, time, day, take pictures, video, etc. And that's exactly what I did. So when I saw my face and the slandering posts on Craigslist rants and raves, I decided to use their tools against them, and I posted their faces and license plates on Craigslist, and they did not like that one bit. They stepped back a bit. I would see them in the streets, and their looks were like, "How dare you?" Remember, the cluster B and the flying monkeys feel entitled to abuse and terrorize you. Now, isn't that what the cluster Bs on a personal level do? They play the victim. They claim it's your fault that they're traumatizing you, and we should just take it. So imagine there are people who now know it's like being in a relationship with a cluster B. And when I say cluster B, I mean the psychopath, the antisocial, the histrionic, the sociopath, the borderline personality, just to name a few. If you have one cluster B diagnosis, you have the rest of them. Just one shows up clearer on the radar because they are surviving the tactics they use daily. These people didn't stop. In my case, it didn't matter what race they were or even how old. I had 60, 70-year-old black or white Jewish women clocking my walks or shadowing me in the grocery store. No joke. Our cluster B wives, husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends have a community where they have constant supply now. The cluster B stalker I deal with is a member of a Mexican gang, and I will get into the collectivist narcissistic cultures in another video. But according to her, they've been using gang stalking to take over Northern California since they already run Southern California. There are forces who are allowing this. The police know about gang stalking. It's been on the news. They've been interviewed by reporters saying, we know about gang stalking. There's nothing we can really do. It is illegal to stalk someone in California, but of course, it's hard to prove when it's multiple people from different walks of life and economic backgrounds. It adds to the confusion and cognitive dissonance of the targeted. This fits in perfectly with how cluster Bs on an individual level create a situation to where their victim is seen as crazy. The best part is they can stay anonymous. No one is the wiser. The way I got out from under them was to level up. I went deep and came out new, stronger and wiser. Those childhood wounds they could no longer exploit because they weren't there. Whatever they accused me of being or doing to the cops or anyone else was burned away because the light shined in me and outside of me. There was instant disbelief. It doesn't mean I'm still not attacked or set up. I just had to deal with that last month. It just means that I have a better defense system and sharper tools. With the cluster B gang stalkers, they fear being outed. They fear you leveling up and regaining your mind and power, because when you do, the darkness they made a pact with comes to collect. So if you're going through gang stalking, this is a chance for you to know God on a level you never thought you would. To go through a dark night of the soul to retrieve the wounded child that felt he or she was worthless and alone. To show them they are now protected. It's hard, but you can do it. They will not defeat you because God is on your side. That's all I have. Please comment below if you can relate or if you have a story to tell. Like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to know they're not alone. There are links below, one of which is in enrollment into my introductory course called So You've Fallen, Who Said You Can't Get Up. It's only $97. When you purchase this course, you will get 1 month free of weekly 45-minute voice calls with me. Also, please join our Facebook group for weekly live chats in a safe, structured environment among others who are going through changes. Now, I'm trying to fill this up. It's newly started. The page has been up on Facebook for, I don't know, maybe 5 months. But I'm a planner. All right. So remember, your blessings are in your ashes. Rise, Phoenix.